Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an idea from economics that's basically a blueprint for the ideal marketplace: perfect competition. No, really, just think about that for a second. What if every single time you bought something, you knew for a fact that you were getting the absolute best price, that no one had some kind of unfair advantage? Well, that's the world we're going to explore today. So what is it really? At its heart, perfect competition is a theoretical model. You could call it an economist's dream of a market where the playing field is completely, totally level. In this perfect world, not one single buyer or seller has enough power to change the price of a product. All right, so let's dig into this so-called economist's dream. What are the key parts that make up the blueprint for this flawless market? Just imagine it, a world where you never have to worry about being ripped off, where a small business can compete head-to-head with a giant corporation. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, yeah, but to get to that ideal state, a market has to play by some very strict rules. So let's break down those rules. What are the absolute non-negotiable conditions that a market needs to meet to be called truly perfect? To keep it simple, we can group all the different conditions into three essential pillars. And you should really think of these like the legs on a stool. If one of them is missing, the whole thing just topples over. First up, you need countless participants. We're talking so many buyers and so many sellers that not a single one of them can influence the overall price. They're all what economists call price takers, meaning they just have to accept the going rate. A great example of this is an agricultural market. One farmer's wheat harvest is just a tiny drop in the ocean, so they can't just wake up and decide to charge double. The market simply won't let them. Second pillar, all the products have to be identical. The technical term is homogeneous. This means no branding, no special features, no differences in quality, zero. My 24-karat gold is exactly the same as your 24-karat gold. A real-world parallel is the gold market in Ratlam, India, where different shops sell gold of the exact same purity. This forces them to compete on other things, like their service, not the product itself. And our third and final pillar is total freedom and knowledge. Now, this is actually a two-parter. First, perfect information. Everybody knows everything about all the prices and the quality, and they know it instantly. Second, free entry and exit. Anyone can start a business or close one down without any barriers in their way. The stock market gets kind of close to this. Price information is public and it's updated in real time, and traders can join or leave the market relatively easily. Okay, so we have our blueprint for the perfect market. But that brings us to the big question. Can you actually find this anywhere in the real world? Well, the short answer is no. As the source material makes pretty clear, even our best examples, like agriculture or that gold market in Ratlam, they only have some of the features. In reality, no market out there ticks all the boxes. Let's stick with that gold market for a minute because it seems so close. It has tons of sellers and the product is identical. So what's stopping it from being perfect? Where does it fall short? And this is where the nice, clean theory meets the messy, complicated real world. It's time to look at the cracks in the foundation. This is really where the ideal collides with reality. The theory calls for free entry and exit, but the real world has licenses, regulations, and high startup costs. It demands perfect information, but we all deal with hidden fees and the fact that some people just know more than others. And those identical products? In reality, companies are always using branding, unique designs, and even different making charges on jewelry to make their stuff stand out. The fact is, real markets are just full of these kinds of complications. Governments add taxes and duties. Buyers don't always have perfect instant access to global prices. Jewelers create one-of-a-kind designs to add value. Starting a business requires licenses and a lot of capital. And then you've got the huge players, like international bullion banks, who can influence prices in a way a small shop owner never could. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, wait a minute. If this perfect market isn't even real, why did we just spend all this time learning about it? And you know what? That is the most important question of all. The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Perfect competition isn't supposed to be a description of reality. It's a yardstick, a benchmark we can use to measure the world around us. By having this flawless, theoretical model, we can analyze the real-world markets we use every day for things like our phones, our groceries, our internet service, and see how they measure up. It helps us spot the imperfections, right? It shows us where monopolies might be forming, where important information is being hidden, or where consumers just aren't getting a fair deal. It gives us an ideal to strive for. So here's the main takeaway. Perfect competition might be a theoretical dream, but it's an incredibly useful one. It gives us a framework to analyze the world. So the next time you're shopping, just take a moment. Think about the number of sellers, the differences between the products, and how much you really know. And just ask yourself, how perfect is this market?